Endless Hustle presented by Doc Swinson's, the legendary whiskey blenders from Ferndale, Washington. I absolutely love Doc Swinson's, and if you haven't tried it, go to their website and check out their selection. All right, we got a great day on the Endless Hustle because as a lifelong Giants fan, I've got my quarterback joining me today, a man who brought me tremendous amount of joy, especially with those incredible 2 Super Bowl wins, Mr. Eli Manning. Eli, great to have you on the show, my man.
Thanks a lot, Arthur. Thanks for having me on.
So you're a fantasy football player now. Amongst the 800 other things you're doing, you're now playing fantasy football. Tell me all about this.
Yeah, so last year was my first year playing fantasy football. I did not do all that well, just because I drafted a lot of my friends. I drafted guys who I played against, and just thought that was kind of how it worked with fantasy football. You just, I thought, hey, I've played this game long enough. I know which guys are good or are going to have good seasons, but I did not strategize very well, and so I've learned now that using IBM Watson is kind of the way to go. Whether it's with the boom bust that kind of just set my team every week, and really with the trade assistant with IBM Watson to kind of find out the fairness and the value of trades. They have trade packages where you can look at players to watch. It can tell you what players not to trade. It can tell you what players to trade, or you can kind of look at positions and see where you can make an upgrade on certain things. So it's been very helpful. I used it a bunch this past week as my quarterback. Justin Herbert plays for the Chargers. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, all with the Chargers on a bye week. CeeDee Lamb was on a bye week. Michael Thomas is the guy I drafted thinking he'd be back by now. It was not. So I was short a receiver. I was sending out trade proposals left and right. Watson was like, do not make that trade. That is a bad idea. Like, you were going to get, be in a very much disadvantage and going to lose off on this trade. But I had to do it because I was short a receiver in my starting lineup. I did not have a spot. But so I rely on the AI. Watson is much smarter than I am, has more information, and so it's given me the ability to win some games this season.
Listening to you break that down almost made me imagine the way you were in the film room when you were actually playing. You were literally like in analysis mode. Does your mentality as an NFL quarterback and how much preparation and study you had to put into every aspect of what you did, does it translate to the post-retirement part of the Eli Manning existence?
I think it does. Just so you're so used to talking, I feel like I'm teaching. I need to teach you something, or I need to teach people like how to use this and the importance of it. It's like going over a play, and I'm like, hey, you got to get 8 yards on this hook route because that in cut is coming at 14 yards. You got to grab that will linebacker, and we'll open up the in cut. So you got to kind of explain, what your role is, why it's good, how it's going to help you and help the team. And so I think that's, you're so used to doing that, talking ball, talking X's and O's, that when it comes to explaining anything, I feel like I am back in the meeting room. I'm with the receiver. I'm explaining a protection to the offensive line and to the running backs of how we're going to pick this up and solve a solution.
So last night I was at a New Jersey Devils game, and I absolutely love that franchise. I love that fan base. I know that they had sent you a jersey as well, which was really cool because I know you tweeted that. As a player, because there's so much overlap between your fan base with the Giants and obviously their fan base, as a player, how much did that fan base and that area elevate you?
Yeah, I think the fans make a huge impact on the game. That's why I can't even imagine last year playing in professional football games where there's no fans in the stadiums. I don't even want to know what that felt like, or it just feels so odd. But I think having fans, feeling their energy, feeling their passion helps you. And I think there's no more passionate football fans in all sports really than in New York and New Jersey. I think the fans are not only they love their teams, but they're very knowledgeable about the games, and whether it's hockey, baseball, football, basketball. They really look into it. They study it. They know the players. They are involved, and they are, and I think it makes a huge impact. You want to win for those guys, and you want the crowd cheering. You want to feel the energy. You want to get them rocking in the fourth quarter, and get the place jumping up and down and loud and creating that great atmosphere that you've played in before. So I think it does have a great impact on the players.
I mean, just being at Prudential Center last night, which is right down the street from where you used to play, the energy in that arena blew me away. And as a kid from Philly originally, the energy was even more substantial to me there than it even was sometimes in Philadelphia. I was just absolutely blown away.
That's awesome. Yeah, when you get a rocking stadium, there's no better feelings. From the offensive standpoint, we're always like, hey, quiet down, quiet down. So like after the touchdown, celebrate. But we're always on the sideline when the defense is out there and it's late in the game and you want to get it pumped up. I mean, you're raising it. You're trying to tell the crowd to get loud, get fired up for those third down plays. And like you said, I've been to some hockey games and there when you get it rocking, there's no like up and down. It's just going full throttle all the time, and it's an awesome atmosphere.
So they've got this young superstar, Jack Hughes. He has a lot in common with you because both of you were number one draft picks. And I can only imagine in the New York, New Jersey area, being a number one pick and becoming the face of the franchise, the pressure and the expectations that have to go with that. If you were to give Jack advice on how to build a successful career on and off the ice, because you did a great job with it, what would that advice look like?
I think it's the same for really any player. I think always, keep great mentors in your life, and those are your coaches in a lot of instances where you're always have the desire and the need to be coached, want to be coached, never think you're above it or you don't need it. There's always something you can improve on, someone to watch things and give you guidance on what you can, how you can get better. I think you rely also, on your teammates, for guidance and for, just the support during the ups and the downs. Don't listen to the sports talk radio shows. Don't, read the papers to find out how you're playing, whether it's a bad game or a good game. You listen to your coaches, you listen to your teammates, and you kind of keep your circle of people that help you during the ups and downs very tight. And so, it's not about having people that are telling you, what you want to hear. It's having people in your life that are honest with you and tell you what you need to hear to raise your level of play.
Another thing he has in common with you is he has brothers in the league playing as well. And it got me thinking, when you have someone, whether it's a big brother or little brother, who can go through the same experience that you're going through and someone you can lean on, you obviously had Peyton during that time. How does that benefit you? How does it help to have a brother in the league with you?
I think it's extremely beneficial just because you have someone, you can vent to at times. And, if I talk to, one of my best friends from growing up who I played high school football with and nothing else, they just can't relate. They don't know what it's like to be in a huddle. They don't know what it's like to, be, at the line of scrimmage and see a will free safety blitz. And we had, double seam on and I had to, make a red Mickey call to get it picked up. Like I'm talking a different language to that person. But when you have a brother who's been in that, we actually played in the same college offense, so we can kind of talk that offense and relate it in that sense, in that language. So to have someone who's just been in those situations that you can talk to about is so beneficial. I think it also helps in your preparation when you're playing similar teams and you get to talk about what they did, where their weaknesses are, how you picked up certain blitzes. And so we always communicated, always talked, and just having that support. And, it wasn't always football, but a lot of it was football and also just kind of getting a daily routine about how you prepare and get ready to play each game.
I saw you tweeted a picture of your son in the Devils jersey, and he's becoming a hockey player. So you are, quote unquote, officially a hockey dad. What is it like being a hockey dad and the appreciation that you're getting to see your son in sports, playing this wonderful sport and living vicariously through him?
It's fun. So actually, my son is only 2.5 years old, so he might start getting on the skates this year. He does wear the jersey. He loves his hockey jersey, and rarely takes it off. But it's actually my youngest daughter, who was 5 last year. she is my hockey player. She got into it last year. She always skated, but with the pandemic, they kind of cut out a lot of her other sports, basketball and soccer and different things going on. So I said, hey, you're playing hockey, and she absolutely loved it. After the first practice, she was sold, and just all the pads now falling didn't hurt. There were the sliding, so she's, it's new, brand new for me. I know nothing about it. I've never been on skates before in my life. And so I barely know the rules of hockey, and definitely don't know all the language, but I am learning. I love watching her play, and so we'll see where it goes. But I'm sure my little boy, just going to hockey practices and getting him on skates, it'll be a sport that he will pick up, and I'll promote it and hope that he does start to play.
You were Mr. Durability during your career. When you see what those guys, and now there's so many girls playing hockey like your daughter, how tough they are and how tough the sport is, what kind of respect do you have for hockey players?
Yeah, an unbelievable respect. And as I've gotten, been up here in the Northeast for a while, I grew up in New Orleans, not a whole lot of hockey going on, didn't have teams. So have started to watch the local hockey teams, and just the amount of conditioning they do, how fast they play, the hits that they take, and the fights. It's just it's such a awesome game, high energy, high impact. And so it's been a lot of fun to watch it, and been around some guys and starting to who know the game, getting to ask them questions and kind of understand how the substitutions work and what some of the philosophies going on are in the game. Has been a lot of fun for me.
The Manning cast has become a phenomenon. In fact, you're what I watch Monday nights now. You and your brother is must-see television. It was all over my Instagram. Having Brady on this week and just seeing the three of you and that chemistry and the respect. What's been the reaction? Like, can you believe how much people have really fallen in love with you and with what you and your brother are doing with this program?
Yeah, I didn't know what the reaction would be, just because it was such a different idea, and such a foreign way to watch a football game. It's like, why would I want to watch these two guys watching the game, and they're having guests, and they don't talk about every play, they don't even know every player, I don't think, by their first name. And so but I know I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being there with my brother, us taking shots back at each other. We've had some unbelievable guests, like you said, with Tom Brady and Gronk, and Marshawn Lynch, Drew Brees, Sue Bird last week. And so have all those people on and get to talk about, some are fans, get to analyze the football, talk about plays, and just go through the circumstances of the game. So I think it's been an interesting way. I think it's a lot of it for those fans that don't really have they're not rooting for their team. If they're not, if their favorite team is not playing, I think it's a great way to watch it. Kind of, hey, I'm just casually watching this game, and here's some inside scoop on what's going on, but also here's some stories, here's some interviews, and have some fun, and just a totally different approach to watching Monday Night Football.
Yeah, one of the coolest things is athletes are so segregated. I mean, we are now in an age with social media where we do get to know you guys so much more. And whether it's the podcasts or whatever, there's more accessibility. But even with that, there is a distance. And to see you and your brother, two iconic athletes, just be dudes, right? Like, there's cursing, there's fucking weird moments, there's off the cuff dancing. It just creates a likability there. Now that you're not playing, how refreshing is it to be able, because you do it on Twitter too, and you're awesome on Twitter. How refreshing is it to be able to showcase those different ends of your personality where you may have had to like regress those because you were a player and you were protecting a team's branding?
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely different, and it's a different, it's a different attitude when you're not playing. Just because, I think when I was playing, I didn't want I think I wanted my fans to only think I played football and everything football, football, football. And that's all I cared about. That's all I had. That was my only interest. And for some case that was somewhat true, but I did have a life. I had a family. I did do fun things and had a different personality, but didn't always show it. just because you had to guard it a little bit, with everything going on. Didn't want to be a distraction and take anything away from the team. But now, kind of nothing to hide, nothing to lose, no team distraction. So, I can show my support for the Giants and for Ole Miss and the teams that I love, but also get to show a lighter side and kind of make some, be silly a little bit and have some fun with it.
Booking these guests, I'm like blown away. I mean, I was joking around. I book for a living for my show and for other shows, and I'm just like, holy shit, the people they're getting. I'm sure, listen, you can probably text Tom Brady. I'm sure there's a friendship there. But how do you kind of ascertain who you're going to have on the show and who you think is going to be a fit?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, personal relationships with guys, and whether it's guys you've played against, you've seen in the off season, you've done commercials with, you've done charity events with, or just people that you've met over the years, and you just some you ask, and they'd love to come on, and you play, well, which you kind of send them some weeks. Hey, which game would you like to come on? Hey, I'm a big Seahawks fan. Oh, great, Sue. Sue Bird, we're playing. Seahawks are playing this week. Would you come on that week? Oh, yeah, love to. And so I think it's, I think, for the most part, people have seen it now a few times, understand that this is not serious. I mean, we're not asking you to, a serious question. That we're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to get some in-depth answer. It is, hey, we're watching football. We may interrupt you to talk about a certain play or teach you something that's going on if you don't know about it, but we're analyzing the game, and and I think it's always more fun when you do have a connection with the person, or pre-existing relationship where you can take some shots at them and know they're not going to get sensitive, and vice versa.
You always seem so calm. And I remember those 2 Super Bowl runs, which for both me and my producer, Joe, who are on, we're both just lifelong Giants fans, and how much joy it brought us. But your mindset, even as calm as you appeared, the day of the Super Bowl, you're about to run out on the field. Were you shitting bricks? I mean, were you like, oh my God? Or were you always that calm? How were you able to handle that type of pressure in that type of moment?
Well, I think it's just the preparation, and that the fact that you practice all week, you work your whole life, you've played in so many games, and that week, just the film, the talking, going over plays, going over strategy, where you just feel so prepared that now when you get to game day, you just let all the work kind of go to work, and you're not going to overthink things, and just take it from the practice field to the game field. And so I think that's the mindset. And when you get into a 2-minute drive to go win a football game, you're not nervous about that situation. You're excited. That's what you prepared for. That's what you work for. That's what, as a kid, that's what you imagine. Hey, there's a minute 50 and we have a timeout and we're down 4. We got to go score a touchdown to win a Super Bowl. Those are the moments that you have in your mind. And then that week you prepare for those. You study, hey, what do they do in a 2-minute drive? What are our favorite plays? Hey, this is what we want to run. So you have an idea. Hey, if they come with blitz, we're going to check to this. So it's all preparation. You know what you have to do. And then there's always going to be some improv, and things don't go exactly how you anticipated. And that's just when you be an athlete and you back to backyard football and find a way.
So I love Tony Romo as a broadcaster, and obviously he's now become famous for essentially predicting all these plays. And any NFL player I've talked to says the same thing. You're so ingrained in it that anyone who's watching football on TV can pretty much do the same thing. It's just robotic at this point because you've lived and breathed it for now decades. When you're watching football today, with the offenses as sophisticated as they are you able to essentially predict it? Like, can you pretty much tell what they're doing just like Romo can?
Well, I think you can. I think some of it is that you can. You understand. You've watched film, so you know their tendencies, and you know what they like to do in certain situations, and so hey, when the tight end is split out wide and they get man, they're working him. Whether if it's zone, they're going to work to the field. So when you can see that in the booth and see the big picture, you have a tendency to know where they might be going with it. And I think just having played the game so long, and play it against these style of defenses. Hey, you can see the defense is playing cover two, and you know where you would want to work, where you'd want to get the ball to in the middle of the field somewhere. And so I think you're just it's kind of how you watch film and you say, hey, they play a lot of this. These plays would work, and so you can hopefully have an idea of what you would do, what you would call, what you'd want in those situations. And so you feel like you have a better chance of kind of anticipating what might happen.
How much satisfaction did you get seeing your brother wear the Ole Miss jersey in front of millions of people? How wonderful a feeling was that?
It was a very wonderful feeling. Obviously happy that Ole Miss won and beat Tennessee, or I didn't have to wear an orange jersey for an hour and a half of my life. That would have been pretty painful. And so, obviously, Peyton was a good sport about it, wore it the whole first half. And so that was great. That was a lot of fun. He's a man of his word and paid on his bets.
Obviously, your younger brother has become the talk of the town, being recruited by everybody. Now social media, because he's a Manning, explodes it even more. Seeing the journey he's going through, and you were once in those shoes, as was your brother, what are kind of the differences between what you see with his generation versus what you went through and what Peyton went through?
Yeah, so this is, my nephew Arch.
I'm sorry, your nephew Arch, right?
Yeah, so I'm excited for him. And obviously there's unfair expectations of what he's going through because of who his uncles are. But as I've told him, I said, hey, just enjoy being a junior in high school. Enjoy this. This is a great time in your life. You are with your best friends and guys who you've played pickup football with, and so don't kind of overlook this time in your life. Don't get so caught up in where you might go play college or have these dreams of playing in the NFL, all those things. Like, hey, have your dreams about winning a high school state championship. That should be your goal. Being a great teammate, finding ways to get better, to improve, to win this upcoming game. So keep your goals very kind of, not too far down the line, to enjoy this experience, enjoy being in high school with these guys, because you don't get these times back, and it is a great opportunity. So just live it, and you'll figure out, you'll know the right decisions. Your heart will tell you where the right place will be to go to college. So don't overthink those things right now.
Growing up in Philly and being a Giants fan was not easy, as you can imagine. And I just think to myself, as much shit as I got from friends and family and everybody else, I can't even imagine the shit you got coming into Philly. Were they the toughest fan base on you, or was there a tougher fan base when you would come into town?
No, they were the toughest. Just they would say some things. I got in a little trouble a few weeks ago on Monday Night Football for kind of showing the world the greeting that a lot of Philly fans used to when I walked out the tunnel. I just thought that's how they said hello. I didn't know that was a bad thing. That's just kind of how every fan, no matter of age, said hello to me. And so they're ruthless, and it's not just not just the grown men, it's the boys, it's everybody. Every Philly fan has the same mindset, and so they're going to attack the opponent. But that's what makes it, that's what makes football fun. Each stadium is different, the fans are different, and the atmosphere is different, the environment. So going into these rough environments and getting a win are exciting moments, and so you remember those times.
Once a Giant, always a Giant, Eli Manning. As you say on your Twitter, this has been a blast, brother. You gave me a lot of years of joy. Congratulations on all the things you're doing. Working with IBM on the fantasy football stuff. It's been a blast to chat with you, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
Bye.